So in this video, I'm going to show you how you turn on your auto ISO or ISO for any Nikon camera, but specifically the D5000 models. So if you have your camera just on manual mode, you'll notice that there isn't an ISO, an auto ISO option, and you're realizing that you don't want to always change the ISO up and down constantly, whether that's constantly changing light all the time, and you want to be able to adjust accordingly. Well, luckily with any Nikon camera, all you need to do to turn on your auto ISO is you click menu and you want to go from your top and then go all the way down to ISO sensitivity settings. Click OK. And your first option is ISO sensitivity. So this will be the sensitivity that the lowest the ISO will go to. But for my personal experience, I like to set it at 100 ISO, which is the cleanest and less grainiest ISO that there is. Next, this option would be off. So then you would have your auto ISO and you want to turn that on. Now your auto ISO is turned on so that when you do shoot in shutter priority, aperture priority, or manual mode, your ISO will automatically adjust to whatever exposure that there is. And you can also set the maximum sensitivity. The maximum sensitivity is exactly what it sounds like, but for my D5200, I like to set it between 800 to 1600 because anything above 1600 ISO does get a little grainy. And there's also the minimum shutter speed. This option isn't necessary for ISO, but it's good to know, and what it essentially does is it's for your shutter priority mode, and it will also control the shutter speed to have at the most minimum that it will go, and it's similar to that of the ISO and it's going to work accordingly. But for the purpose of video, we're going to just talk about your auto ISO control, your maximum sensitivity, and the lowest ISO sensitivity that your ISO will go to, and that is how you essentially turn on auto ISO. Now you have auto ISO on, you can begin to see what auto ISO actually does. So I'll change it to shutter priority. Now that you can see in the bottom corner, ISO auto is blinking at 1250. There should be a little indicator right here to see that your auto ISO, it's on auto, meaning it will automatically adjust accordingly. See, I'm not pressing the camera at all, and the ISO is changing. If it gets a little brighter in here or I have another light source, the ISO will also change. The one thing about auto ISO on a Nikon D52, 53, 55, or 3000 model is that it's a little bit of a shame that you can't shoot auto ISO on manual mode. As you see here, I'm currently on manual mode, but the ISO auto is gone. So the thing about Nikon cameras is that you can shoot manual mode, but auto ISO mode does not work unless you are out of live view. As you can see now, I'm on manual mode, hence the M, and the ISO does adjust automatically. But the sad part is, out of live view, I cannot record videos. So in order for me to record videos, I have to shoot in either aperture priority, shutter priority, or programmed auto mode. I like to shoot, if I had to go with a mode and I still needed auto ISO, then I would shoot it in shutter priority, and I would leave the shutter at 1/50. And as you can see here, auto ISO is still enabled. In other words, I can record a video right now and the light or ISO would change accordingly to whatever exposure or whatever light sources that are, so that it can match the exposure properly. I guess the big question is now that you know how to shoot in auto ISO mode for your Nikon camera, is when do you want to shoot in auto ISO and when do you not want to shoot in auto ISO mode or ISO? Pretty much there's two simple basic rules. You want to shoot in auto ISO if you can't control the lighting. In this scenario where I definitely have control of the lighting, then I would not need to use auto ISO. I would put this camera in fully manual, control the ISO, and leave it as is, because I know that the sun or whatever other lights is not going to be affected. I have one light source and that's that. But there are times where I'm shooting and the subject or talent is behind a window, or I don't have a lighting source where I can control and it's all natural lighting. So that is where I would shoot in shutter priority with auto ISO mode. For example, the light that I'm using right now, which is the aperture M9, is that this would simulate the sun. So if there was the sun here and it was constantly moving, then the camera would automatically adjust to whatever exposure to have the properly balanced ISO. But if I was in full manual all the time and pretty much the sun kept changing and I was unable to control the ISO, then you would see that it would get dark and then bright, dark and then bright. But if I put this in shutter priority and have auto ISO on, then the exposure would be roughly around the same, or the camera would try to compensate for whatever light that keeps adjusting. Well, my name is Peter. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, and that is how you use auto ISO on not only your Nikon camera, but any camera in general. You're watching Broke Visionary Collective, where we all start with nothing, but you can always create something.